So how long has this all been active, and when did you start it?
Yeah, so we've been in operation here for over a year, and we've been working on this project. We've built this whole place from the ground up, and we've been incorporated since 2014, and we have been operational and licensed with the state since June of 2016.
Why did you get into the industry?
There's a lot of reasons. I'm an entrepreneur for one, but it's something I really strongly believe in, and we looked at the numbers in the business. Of course, it's critical to do that before you invest your money and other people's money into anything. But it's something where I don't see marijuana going away. I see it as a long-term industry. We think that this is going to be a 20 to 30-year non-stop cycle of growing, just the way we do here, probably longer. That's why we marched in this direction. Yeah.
I mean, you've come an amazingly long way just in that short time.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of ways to go, and kind of perfecting the seed that we think is going to survive not just the beginning stages of most of the marijuana businesses in each state, but surviving for the long run is being very cost effective, producing extremely high quality product at an extremely low cost price, while still having hand trimmed and glass cured quality. So yeah.
Do you see a lot of business in selling the systems and processes that you've worked out for this operation as well as the produce?
No.
Really?
Nope, I don't want to.
Okay, why is that?
Because people are assholes. Everybody knows better, and you might as well just do it yourself. We've got the capital, we've got the team, we've got our own ability to expand ourselves. I don't understand why. I've been in the consulting world, and if you have capital and you have skills and you have know-how, I'd rather spend my team and my time doing it for ourselves and our own business.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I can't help noticing, this, just as an outsider, this business is incredibly regulated.
Yes, it is.
The rules are very strict.
True.
How do you find dealing with all of that? Is it easy or is it onerous?
It really depends, and there are some municipalities that we deal with that are phenomenal, that are really easy, and they look, at our local, for example, local applications. Our local municipality here is really tough. We have an over 200-page license renewal that we have to do every year, plus over $10,000 in fees to them. They won't schedule us for months, and then they tell us we're late, and it's not very user-friendly on that regard. From the state level, I think Colorado has come a long way, and I think that they're really doing a great job. But it's extremely restrictive, and the rule book is this thick.
Yeah.
So in order to in order to do everything appropriately and to follow the rules, it's not easy. But as long as they're clear and fair about it, I can respect that. In Michigan, for example, they said that they would be shutting down their medical system by December 15th, and they would be starting a new one from there. Well, the state trooper that is on the panel in Michigan went and seized property and assets from all of these compliant dispensaries 2 months before the date he issued, and told people to shut down. I mean, there are some places where people play fair and are clear, and it is medicine or it is adult use, depends on whatever they want to say, but do what you're going to say and say what you're going to do, and not everybody does that. Some of them do it very well.
Yeah. So do you think this is all going to expand pretty rapidly across the country now?
No. I think it's going to move a lot slower than people think. I think actually getting these laws in place and getting the regulatory systems in place and the tax structures or all of the compliance realities in place, especially when it comes to extraction, you can create very pungent, potent product. And that's very necessary for a number of medical conditions. But at the same time, you don't want that in general use. You don't want them unmarked. You don't want people getting surprised by them. Besides that, the general flower is pretty safe, and I think that nobody can die from just the flower, which is a great thing. And I think that it's over half of the states now have some type of medical program. I would like to see an increase in decriminalization because it's clear to me that there's a lot of lying going on. Let's stop destroying families and breaking people away and being the #1 prison state in the world. So
So one thing you said you were interested in, and it's a topic we're really interested in too, is the alignment of the legal cannabis industry with cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
Because like we went to a dispensary the other night, and it was funny to us. Like nobody there had really heard of Bitcoin. Like they knew about it, but they didn't really know much about it, and they certainly weren't accepting it in the store. Mm-hmm. So like, what do you see as the opportunities there?
Excellent question. So I've seen a couple of different marijuana-related cryptocurrencies and ICOs and offerings. I even reached out to specifically Potcoin, emailed them, and they never sent me anything back. Some of it I get really skeptical of, just because of how regulated it is, and if you're not already in the business with licenses, you're just stabbing in the dark. And I think that that's one of the realities of the cannabis world. If it's consultants that aren't in the industry, if it's whatever, if you're not in and you don't have licenses and whatever else in recognized states, you're guessing. And so for the cannabis industry, that's just one of the realities there. Crypto space, on the other hand, I don't think any of the regulators here in Colorado are opposed to it. There's clearly the application for the banking side of our industry, and that's something where we do know other businesses that don't have bank accounts, and they tell me that they're having trouble to get one. We have banking, we have checking, we do payroll automated, we deal with vastly wholesale in this business, and that's 85% done through checks and checking.
Wow.
So for that application, I'm not sure that building a currency for doing that makes any sense. Not to say that there's not applications for Bitcoin or Ethereum or other major, more trusted currencies to have a ATM inside of a facility that could allow for some of that cash to be dealt with through those means. I've found regulators and banks here in Colorado who are willing to play ball with cryptocurrency, but that in itself, I think, is complicated, and you might as well just get into an ATM or some type of play along those lines.
Yes,
so, that's that reality. The big opportunity that I see, and from what I've spoken with other people in cannabis from other parts of the country, is the public funding aspect of it, the ICO aspect of it. Our PE ratios are well above what publicly traded companies are. There is additional risk for those who do not know our industry well enough, and there is so many startups that don't know how to get to the finish line. But for the people that have books that have been through years, that are audited by the state, that are whatever else, there are real estate deals that we've seen with price earnings ratios under 2 when you have Amazon with a price earnings ratio over 500. And I think that's not just for marijuana, but I think in the crypto space that there will be a lot of legitimate companies once there's more guidance from the SEC. And I think that from what I've heard, not just in Colorado, but also in California, that there are some winner groups that are going to have very good land-backed or whatever it is, legitimate offerings into the ICO space that I think, not in a majority, but in some extent will have some very long-term good companies that may be interested in doing it. Could be 2 years out, could be 5 years out, I don't know. But that's what I would say is, in my opinion, the most appealing thing of interest for me.
I mean, it sounds to me like you're dealing with 2 different regulatory nightmares there, willingly. Is it worth it?
Yeah, and that's for sure. And when I talk to my contacts in New York and major financial or legal firms that deal with the SEC, they think I am crazy for considering it. But they've also been saying that for 4 years since I've come up to marijuana. And in dealing with the state here in Colorado, the state did not have any issues with that, so long as we're compliant on both regards, which is actually really difficult because you can only take money from accredited investors, and there's all sorts of other stipulations. And then on the marijuana side, they can't actually own any percentage of the actual operating business. So you'd have to do it as a real estate deal. Those stipulations are state-specific. Those stipulations change. But I think that that's a phenomenal direction for where a true value for both investors, for businesses, would be.
How do you think that managed the angle of accepting investors' money from outside the state, or like places where it's still strictly prohibited?
In Colorado specifically, which is what I know extensively in accurate detail, the stipulation has to do with the business license versus the real estate. You can take outside money for the real estate deals so long as they're accredited investors, and that's been going on. We've already done that in $2+ million worth of transactions. When it comes to the license has a whole bunch of regulatory requirements, including every owner being presented to the Marijuana Enforcement Division of our state. It basically rules out any chance of having a business ownership in the ICO space. But the real estate deals are still a phenomenal asset, and that's where I think the opportunity could be.
And do you see any impacts from the marijuana industry that could affect the cryptocurrency industry as well?
Absolutely. One of the things we talked about with financial transactions has to do with the fact that the banking is difficult. They ask for $1,000 a month for their fees. I mean, look, we already pay percentages. There's all sorts of expenses in that, whereas if we can do things in the crypto space, we all know how cheap that can be. And nobody wants to lose thousands of dollars a year that you don't need to. I can pay my employees more. I can be a more competitive company. I can do a whole bunch of better things than that. But the big thing for crypto, I think, is that if we can get the marijuana businesses to start transferring, doing payroll, doing those types of transactions into the crypto space, not just because you're saving money, but because of all sorts of other challenges of dealing with the banks. It's a tremendously large amount of fiat money in the U.S. that could transition to the crypto economy. And as we look at the increasing of market caps of the different cryptocurrencies and the proliferation and uses of these, having whole industries that are being kind of pushed to the outside by our current financial system, and these are tax-paying, legitimate businesses, you're going to see an opportunity for tens of billions of dollars to come into the crypto space in a normal transaction economy.